Okay, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the PowerPoint presentation, please? Thumbs up, thumbs up. All right. So, welcome to our September staff meeting, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for working hard all day and then joining us this evening or watching the recorded version. This is our September staff meeting. And while you were waiting, if you did see it, but I just loaded it up, type in the chat box. And I've done this one before, but we have some new staff members now, and it's been a whole year since we've done it. Tell me you're an early childhood educator without telling me you're an early childhood educator. So if you've seen those memes or on your friends' stories about being an educator in general, early childhood educator is its own different ballgame. So we have some chat. Sitting on a tiny, tiny chair is completely normal. And then you get like butt cramps after you've been sitting there all active rest waiting and planning. Yep. I spend more time on Pinterest than I ever have. It's true, because you're always looking for the next best thing to do with your kids. And I always have a Pinterest fail when I used to do it, but I've seen some success stories at our school. So you guys are very crafty. Okay, I'm going to keep the chat box up, and if you choose to type in there, you're welcome to it. You do not have to. You just think about what makes you a childhood educator, early childhood educator. Okay. Emily says, coming home with Play-Doh on you. Yeah, or on your butt because you sat in it, in that tiny chair after they played with Play-Doh. Very true. Or all kinds of weird stuff come home on you. Super staff member of the month of August. So we're always a month behind since this is the September staff meeting. The person that we were observing in August is the person we're going to highlight. This person guides her co-teachers and flex teachers who join her classroom to exhibit the expectations of Sneed's Ferry quality. She's thoughtful of her students and mindful of other individuals' learning needs. Collaborative team teaching with other preschool teachers. She maintains respectful and professional relationships with coworkers and parents, works towards her administrator's credentials, or she's going to start working towards those credentials soon, and considerate of others and professional with coworkers, which is a big deal. And that's Miss Amanda. So congratulations, Miss Amanda M. And we'll put all your lovely trinkets and your gift card and your certificate. We hope you hang it up nice and high and proud for everybody to see. So yay, Miss Amanda. She wasn't feeling so hot today, so I hope she's feeling better. Welcome to the Sneed's Ferry Quality and Holly Ridge Quality families, because now we're combining our staff meetings, so I'm not doing 2 a month, so here's one for everybody. Sarah, we haven't really introduced you yet, so Miss Sarah is at Holly Ridge Quality. She's going to work with our 4 and 5s in preschool. Miss Corey is at Holly Ridge Quality. She's going to work with our 3s preschool. Sharon, I think I introduced her last time, but she wasn't at the meeting, and she's at Holly Ridge Quality after school program. And Lauren B, she's at Sneed's Ferry Quality. She has been working with school age and as a flex teacher all around, getting to know where she feels comfortable. If I missed you, I'm very sorry. I've been all over the place. So if you are new and you haven't been introduced yet, not last month or this month, just message me because I would love to highlight you and embarrass you. Okay. Teach scholarship, frequently asked questions. And everyone who's done teach, you are wise to these things, but those who are new, which are quite a few of you, you are not yet on the teach bus. So here we go. What does it cover? It covers your tuition and your books, your study time. You can get up to 3 paid hours of study time a week. Now the paid study time, it's $10 an hour. So it's nobody's hourly wage, but it's better than getting no pay for studying at home. So if you would like an hour of dedicated quiet time, you can go to the she shed and study away for an hour and get paid up to 3 hours a week. You can obtain any degree related to early childhood education. Get crafty with your advisor. When you go and you get into, I did Central Piedmont, but everybody, we typically ask you to try Stanley, Mount Olive if you're trying it for your bachelor's. Get crafty. Think about what can I put in this in this plan that will tackle a whole bunch of different things. Maybe you can do double minors or double majors and really get more bang for your buck while you're going to school instead of taking those silly nonsense classes that are just fillers. You want to put things that matter in there so you can get more degrees, more credentials. So if you work towards your credentials, your associates, your bachelor's, your master's degrees, I don't know anybody who's done their doctorate yet, but you're welcome to try. You can get a $1 raise as soon as you hand us your credential certificate. So when you're finished with EDU 119 and you've just been making your flex teacher rate, or you've been really ambitiously trying to become a co-teacher, as soon as you hand us those credential certificates, you get your raise. And then the next open availability of a co-teacher or another promotion of a position, you will be considered for that position. Your contract with Teach and Us is very specific and it's extremely strict. So you have to make sure you read the details. We're not going to do the reading for you. Ruby does a lot to get people into the Teach program and to get registered for school, but is ultimately on you for the grades you have to earn, for the different rules that you have to follow, and the different paperwork that's required. So please make sure you read it carefully. Staff members are responsible for the paperwork, recording your study times. You don't get paid for that study time if it's not recorded, and it is not counted as a clock hour. So if you're going to do study time, you have to clock out and then clock back in, just like you would for lunch. And that way it's counted as study time and you get paid separately on a separate pay section for that study time, because it's not working on the clock, it's working for study time. So just keep that in mind. If you don't hand us that reimbursement sheet, all those hours of study time, they don't get paid. So please make sure that you do that. Those papers are in your contract booklets that you get from the Teach Scholarship Program. Okay, so engagement and supervision. I haven't been at Sneads Ferry Quality for a couple weeks now, but Ruby and Joyce really wanted me to address some things because we've been noticing it's been happening for a little while, and we want to make sure that everyone understands the expectations, because it's hard. If you're new, you don't really know until you know, until someone tells you. So here we go. I'm going to tell you. So engaged children are safe. Bored children, they're going to go find nonsense because they're bored. Get on their level when you speak with them. When we're talking down to a child, that's exactly what it sounds like. We're talking down to a child. So try to get on their level, sit, squat, whatever you need to do, but get on their level so you're communicating with them and helping them through something instead of barking orders at them. Show them what is expected, model for them, and guide them. They're only going to learn, just like I said. If you don't know, then you don't know, right? So if they don't know, they will never be able to do what you're asking them to do. So you have to be able to guide them, show them, model for them, have other small group activities where you just specifically practice those skills. And before you know it, your kids are going to be independent and they're going to be little good citizens of the classroom because you spent that time. Never raise your voice to students or use harsh tones. That is a huge no-no. And going down the hallway, if we hear that voice, we will come track it down and we will address it. You only get one verbal warning from us. And then we have to take some serious action, because those harsh tones, they cut you to the core. Whether you're the child who's getting it directed at, or you're someone walking down the hallway and you hear that tone and you hear that voice, it gets you real deep, especially if you work with children, because you have that special place in your heart for kids. So you hear someone with a harsh tone, it cuts us real deep. Even tones are used. Say what you mean and mean what you say. If you're going, and we'll go into this in a little bit, but if you're going to direct a child, you're using that even tone. And it's just like I'm saying, my shirt is black, hands at your side. So my voice is even. My shirt is black, we walk in the classroom. So my tone is not raised, it's not harsh. It's just like me stating a matter of fact. What do we do? What's expected? If you need to sit, you're exhausted. Everyone's got stuff going on at home. You come in, you're tired. Sit with your students. You need to sit on your hiney for an hour. That happens. We're exhausted all day. We work. Some of you are moms going to school, coming to work, and all kinds of stuff. So sit with them, teach with them while you sit. You do not always have to be up dancing around in the classroom, because We're not always that energized, but please don't sit across the room from your students and start directing them from across the room. You're with them, you're working in small group, you're working one-on-one, and you're making sure you're tackling those skills and strategies that you have been assessing or you're going to start assessing on. Please don't turn your back to students. That's a tough one, because if you have a sink that faces a different way and you're assisting in sink washing, or you're turning your back to try to help a child, you kind of have to now turn your body so that you're projected to facing the rest of the class. Supervision is a huge deal. Once your back is turned for too long, you'll notice some are taking a little bit of advantage of what you're doing because you're not paying attention. And that way, if your body's facing the class and you're maybe engaging with some students while you're helping the student, will reduce that. They're just not going to be as inclined to do something full of nonsense. And then when you're outdoors, please set up monitoring stations. So you're not clustered together chit-chatting, because I know you want to catch up with each other, but you are separated and you're monitoring and supervising students. You're playing with students, which is the best part. I mean, if you play with kids, you can be prepared that they are going to learn new games. They won't be trying to find more nonsense to get into, and they're engaged with you. So if you play with them, that's fantastic. But if you don't feel like playing, just make sure you're supervising and you're making sure that they're safe. Okay. More teachers in your room? Great. That's awesome. Sometimes we are well staffed, and that's a blessing because other centers are not. But everyone should have a group to work with if they're in your room, and you should have that A, B, C teacher chart posted, and you know who's teacher A, you know who's teacher B, and you know who's teacher C, and what jobs are entailing for that moment. So if you're teacher A and it says teacher A is assisting with diapering or bathrooming, maybe it's that time of day when you do that. Those other two teachers or one other teacher in the room, they're not twiddling their thumbs. They have a job to do because that chart tells them exactly what's expected. Please don't wander the halls. There have been quite a few teachers addressed one-on-one. The time when you have extra hands in your room is the time you take advantage to work with students in that plan that you had. Oh, you're going to take this one student because they are really having a tough time on this skill. Maybe they're having a tough time with colors, and you just want this person to play a game having to do with colors with that one student. And then this teacher, they're going to focus on this small group because they had trouble yesterday learning how to take turns. So we're going to model together on how to take turns while we play this game. And then I'm going to take this crew and we're going to do this over here. So you have a plan because you write lesson plans, and you have a strategy, something you didn't get to address last week, something you've been wanting to address this week. Those extra teachers are extremely helpful. Please use them wisely. Otherwise, they will be removed from your room and join a classroom that would greatly appreciate having them and use them wisely, because extra teachers, it costs a lot of money. And we are supplying and hopefully are always overstaffed, knock on wood, but that's our goal all the time, is to be overstaffed. Because on those tough days when 8 people call out, you don't feel it as much. And we don't have to turn children away. But on the days that we're well staffed because everybody showed up that day, that's when you can take full advantage of these people who are there to support you in your classroom. So please make sure that you do that. Don't wander. Don't wander. Don't just go out to your car to go grab something, and then 10 minutes later you're going back to your car because you forgot something else. And then you have to go to the bathroom for 15 minutes. Then you got to go back to your car. And then by the time you're done, it's lunchtime. So please stay in your classroom, work with your students. Okay. Rant over. Oh, I made it get big. Okay. Guiding children to avoid injury. This is another thing that we want to make sure everyone is very clear on, that you get one verbal reminder on how we need to guide children when they're having a tough time. Now, if you have a child who is defiant and they are throwing their body down, please don't try to pick them up. You are going to get hurt. They are going to get hurt. It's just not going to end well. So if they're having a tantrum, I have a video in here a little bit later. You'll be able to watch it and understand what to do with them when they're having a tantrum. And not try to pick them up, especially if they're a really big 4 or 5-year-old. Now, if they're a toddler, that's why our behavior plan is written so differently for both different age groups. If you have an infant or a toddler or a young two and you can comfortably pick them up and soothe them, that's appropriate. But if they're 3, 4, or 5 and half your size, then you probably need to think of a different route. And that's why those videos are going to come in handy. When you're guiding a student, my hand is on their back and I'm guiding them with a flat hand on their back. If they can go willingly with me, if I do that, that's great. Then we guide them to what we want them to do. Be careful of shoulders and arm positions. If you're holding a child's arm and they bring their body forward or in a funky position, that could dislocate. So please be careful. If you're holding hands and they're holding hands willingly with you and they're moving with you, that's great. But the moment they start to struggle or drop or flail, let go of that hand, because my husband Dan, he's dislocated his whole shoulder several times and he can't even tell you how painful that is. So just be very mindful of how you're addressing students. If they are unwilling and they drop to the floor, which we've all seen that happen, you can either pick them up if they are within that age group and they're, itty bitty, we pick them up, we soothe them, we love on them, and we help them regulate. Or if they're older, then we have to go with the natural consequences on the spot where they stopped, wherever they are. You can clear the other children away from them, keep the other kids safe. And we'll have to, maybe the thing is that they didn't want to clean. They didn't want to pick up those toys before they went outside. They left a huge mess. And you've addressed it, you've asked them to clean, you used your even tones, and they just didn't clean. So then you move on to the next thing. Okay, so you can clean these toys and come out with us, or you have to clean these toys while everybody else is outside. Hopefully they choose the right toys and they clean and then they go outside. But if they throw a tantrum, flail their body, they still don't want to clean, you let them go and you repeat their choices. There are 2 positive choices, right? You can clean now and come outside, or you can wait and clean later, but then you're going to miss playtime outside. Now, if they're screaming uncontrollably, they're not going to even hear you. They're in la la land right there. They're not regulating. They're in a trauma mode. They're in distress. So you do have to come back to it. And that's why when we watch those videos later, you'll understand the whole process. But where they are, if they're an older kid, you leave them. You can bring something calming to them, because our goal is to get them to be calm and regulate and back to where they can hear you again and listen. And then you present them with the same natural consequences. Well, you didn't clean before, so now this is what has to happen. You have to clean now, and we're going to miss playtime outside. Your friends are already outside, but I will help you clean, and then you can go outside and join them. Next time, maybe we should clean before, and then you have tons of time to play. Some are reasonable, some are not, but after time, they will hopefully get that you mean what you say and you say what you mean. Tones, tones, tones. We just talked about this a little bit, but if you feel like you need an emotional break, that's what we're here for. Admin, there are a lot of administrators, and you holler for somebody on the radio, admin to room, fill in the blank. We're going to come and we're going to see what you need. And if you say, I just need a break, I just need a 3-minute break. So we all have that point. Little Billy over there, he just didn't stop all morning long. He just kept pushing your buttons. He knows what buttons to push. You need a moment. We would rather you take that moment and then come back and readjust it, and then you can address it like you need to in a calm, even tone and a reasonable mind. If we're in this high state of anxiety and distress, we're only going to bring the other kid with us here. So you need to be able to regulate yourself. And if you need to step away, then you just call for us and we will come help. If you need a moment, that's what we're here for. But we all hear too many horror stories about people who just didn't have that option as a teacher, and they felt that they didn't have anywhere to go. And we want to be able to provide you with that outlet. So just make sure you holler at us and we will help you. If you want to message us privately after hours and say, listen, this is what's been going on, that's why we're here. So please make sure you address those things when you know you need to. You know yourself. We don't know you that well inside your brain. What's going on? So you can walk away and use your star breathing, because we learned star breathing a couple months back. When you're greeting families and students, especially being assessed, you always want to greet them with their name. Now, some people are used to calling their students by endearing nicknames, but when you're being assessed, they listen extra carefully for the actual name of the child. So you address the child by name. You might talk to the parent who brought them in if you have a moment. Hey, how was this night? Or what did you eat for bread? Did you eat breakfast this morning? Are you hungry? And all those little things, those really build the connection with the child and their family. But it also gets you an idea of where they're coming from when they get into the room. If you see Grumpy and Grumpy coming into the room, they probably didn't have a good morning or a good evening, and here they are, and you know what you need to do. You know what you need to tackle with that crew. So talking to them and getting a little feel on where they're coming from in the morning, that's definitely a good way to start your day, knowing where everyone's coming from. Just a very simple question to the parents, or even asking the student if they're old enough to answer for themselves. We consolidate our classes. So in the morning, you might start with some other friends from different rooms. That is so typical of the field we're in, especially in childcare centers and preschools. So be kind and welcome them all. If you don't know their name, you can ask the parent for their name, especially because you're doing the roster of who's there and you're doing meal program. So you want to make sure you get who's going to be eating breakfast with you, and just welcome them all. And then you'll get to know them, and it won't be stranger danger next time. You'll be all right with them coming to join you. Modeling for your students for what you expect from them. So if you're speaking cordially with the parent, or you're addressing somebody with respect and kindness, that's what the children are seeing in the classroom. So what you show is what they're going to emulate afterwards. They're very good at mimicking. Instead of you need to share, which we hear a lot, you got to share. I say it to Eden sometimes by accident. You got to share with Mikey. And luckily, I've taught her what sharing is. But if this kid didn't know what sharing was, what do you want me to do, lady? So you can say, can I have a turn when you're done? So you're giving them the words to use. You're giving them the tools for their tool belt. So the next time they face this problem, this predicament, they have something to say, and they have their big voice to use, instead of screaming at each other or grabbing it and trying to run away with it. You're giving them tools, and they can apply these tools, or you can remind them of these tools the next time. And it'll take a while, obviously. They're little itty bitties, but we got to practice. So these are the videos I was speaking about. I did put in quite a few because we have so many staff members who are new, or some staff members who need a refresher. And those instances that I talked about earlier with the tone and how we address students who are having a tantrum, that's why I have these videos, so that those people now you have the tools to be able to work with these kids. So you don't have to watch them all right now. I would ask that when I send this out and you have rest time, or maybe you're at home and you just want to fall asleep to the lull of conscious discipline, then watch one of these videos. They're about 7 to 9 minutes long each. And they're good tip videos. They are. I've watched them quite a few times each, and I pick up on something, or I remember something that I forgot from last time. So even if you feel like you're a veteran or you're seasoned, I ask that you please watch these videos and make sure that you know what's expected. So, okay, strong classroom management skills. You can never have too many things in your tool belt, like I always say, and there's another tool. So you guys did Flip It last year. Now you have the pyramid model from our teacher workday, and many of you have done conscious discipline, little bits and pieces here and there with us. So you have a bunch of tools. We just have to make sure we know how to use them appropriately, and that when the time comes, we actually use them. So this is the little overview of it. I'm not going to go into that one. Handling temper tantrums. I have shown this one before, but I want you all to watch it with me because I think it's important. It's relevant to what was happening this week and last week in some of the classrooms, especially with new friends, new students who haven't been to school before, and they're very used to getting their way or not sharing toys at home. And you can probably think of like 1 or 2 or 7 of your friends in your class who are just like this, and maybe this will work for them. Now, if it doesn't work for them and you try and try, there are other tools, but this is just one that you can use when you're working with them. So I'm going to show you this one. Let me just make sure the volume is appropriately loud for you. Okay, here we go.
Welcome to our time together. Today we're going to talk about temper tantrums. Now there's a number of reasons children have temper tantrums. First, they're very developmentally normal from children up to 3 years of age. And young children at that time, they're going to have a temper tantrum for urgent need that's not met, or when they're tired, hungry, bored, or frustrated. Older children over the age of 3 have temper tantrums for different reasons. Generally, they have them because they've been given into, they've had a tantrum earlier in their life, and it's worked for them, that skill as a strategy of play. They have them for unrealistic expectations of parents, inappropriate discipline that's a little bit too punitive or too permissive, and also when they are fatigued, they will do that. And the last one is when they've had too much stress in their life. Those of you who had children, maybe one or more children, you might say, well, how come one child has more temper tantrums than another? Well, this is based on a number of things. First, it's based on the temperament of the child. Some kids are just born easy temperament. They're easy to regulate. They go to sleep well. They eat well. They're just very easy children. Other children are born with very difficult temperament. It's hard to soothe them. They're finicky eaters. They're finicky sleepers. When they get upset, they can calm as easily as other children. And the last one again is stressors, inconsistent routine, inappropriate discipline, unrealistic expectations, divorce, child care, death in the family, depression. All these things will affect the amount, number, and intensity of tantrums that children have. So how best can we respond to them? The first thing I want you to hear, I want you to hear very, very clearly, there's no right way to do it. Different things will be appropriate for different children. But in general, these are some strategies that will be helpful. The first thing to understand is temper tantrums are a nonverbal communication. All recognizing the face is red, they're wailing, their arms are going, they're holding their breath, they're screaming. Recognize. So what are they trying to say? Generally, they're going to say, I'm overwhelmed, I can't handle this. The second one is, I'm trying a strategy that worked last time, and I'm wondering if it's going to work this time. Last time, so all I got to do is scream and shout long enough, hard enough, and ultimately I'm going to get what I want. So one, it's developmental, I'm overwhelmed, and two, taught the child to have these tantrums. So we respond to these almost in similar ways. First thing to do is unhook ourselves. So again, we're going to be starved. We're not going to get triggered. We're going to take a breath. And we're going to calm ourselves. Sometimes just calming ourselves puts some calming energy around the child. Second thing we're going to do is that we're going to offer empathy. And we're going to start with the body. Your arms are going like this, your face is like this, your body's telling you, I feel so frustrated. So I'm going to say those words again. Your arms are going like this, your face is all scrunched up, your body is telling you, I really wanted to watch this, or I am so tired. Whatever your best guess. And from that situation, you're going to actually just leave the child alone, if that seems what will be best for them, or you're going to pick the child up, put them to your body, say nothing but breathe. So you can say, I got it. You're safe. Once the temperature is over, whatever the original trigger was, the child does not get out of anything. If they throw a fit about taking their fork to the sink, once the temper tantrum is over, give them a choice. Carry the fork over in this hand, or you can carry the fork in this hand, which is best. If it was about wearing blue pants as opposed to Green pants, once it's over, they're gonna put the green pants on. Give them a choice. Want to put them on when sitting on the floor, or would it be easier to stand up and put your pants on? The temper tantrum does not allow a child to get out of them. So why not just let the child flunk around on the floor like a fish out of water and ignore, quote, the bad behavior? We want to offer empathy, want to offer breathing, because it's going to help the child learn how to get from the lower centers of their brain to the higher centers of their brain. We're providing that methodology that and internalize it in the child that they can use their life. So here's your homework. When you see a child in a grocery store, and it's not even yours, here's what you can practice. Just breathe and wish that child well in that thing. Put some calmness into energy as opposed to what the heck are they doing? Add your calmness to it. If it's your own child, unhook. Do not take it personally. Take some breath. Add some calmness to the chaos with your own energetic being. Say to the child, your hands are going like this, your face looks like this. Your body's telling you, this, I'm just so tired and so hungry. And then depending on the temperament of the child, we're either going to come on, give them space, or you're going to scoop them up, put them on your chest, relax and say, you're safe out there. And then once the hand is over, they're going to go back and do the task that triggered them. So next.
Okay. Oh, that one doesn't work. I have to fix it. So going back to what she was saying, Miss Becky Bailey, they're not going to get away with what they're trying to avoid. We always have to make sure we go back to it. Otherwise, they've learned that the temper tantrum works, and that's really important. With one kid in the room, it's probably much easier to demonstrate patience and resilience in going back to what they were upset about in the first place. So for example, Eden, if she is throwing a fit and she's having a really tough time, she's exhausted. Her first week of kindergarten was exhausting. And she had a tantrum about wanting to watch more TV shows and not going to bed. And we had to come back to it after she let herself go for a while. She knew what the two choices were. And we had to come back, because then we would have just set ourselves up for failure for the rest of the school year. Well, I got away with it this time, so now I'm going to do this every night. And our lives would be a living nightmare. So the resilience and the stubbornness of a early childhood school teacher is extremely important, because they can be just as stubborn and just as resilient in the tantrum and trying to get what they want. So if you need support, that's what admin's here for. Just like I said earlier, you radio for us if you want someone to stand with your crew and we got an extra person on hand. You need us to engage the rest of your students because you're handling little Billy over there and I'm waiting for his episode to be over. Then that's what we do, because we want to be able to teach them that there are consequences, and what we said and what we expect is what's going to happen. And you provide them with two positive choices. It's not like you're giving them things that are harmful to them. You're giving them two positive choices, and they are making a choice after they de-escalate. And however long that might take, some children take a lot longer than others, but they will get there eventually. And then you'll notice if you are consistent with it, it will get shorter and shorter as the year goes on. And that's tough to say now. So you can roll your eyes at me if you'd like. Okay. Yeah, frog in my throat. Okay. So this is all about logical consequences. I am not going to show it to you, but I really hope that you watch one of these, because it goes along with what you just watched Becky Bailey talking about. This is the assertive voice. So we've gone through everything and you've kind of given them their choices. You're encouraging them, you know, let's make that decision so you can have this end result you were looking for. And then you have to follow through. So always mean what you say. If you're giving them these choices, you have to make sure that you can actually provide those two options to them, and that they will be able to follow through with it. Okay, so now we're moving on to assessments, observations, and data collection. It is almost that time of year where we're going to have parent-teacher conferences in November, and this is your head start. This is how you go through and really come in prepared. So if you need materials to get yourself organized, some people like to use those little accordion folders. Some people keep one big binder, and then you have sections for each child's portfolio information. Some do purely digital. You just take pictures of their progress, you type notes to yourself, and you save it in a safe place. That's fine too. I've been going more digital because I literally cannot carry everything with me that I need all the time. So I'll take pictures of things for myself. I'll have different folders in my shared drive, and that way I know where to address things wherever I am. I'm not without. And so you can do it that way too. If you need some suggestions or guidance, that's what Ruby and I are here for, to help you with that component, working with your students. So if you're new, please communicate with the seasoned teachers around you. Maybe they have a great tip on how they maintain portfolios, or they have a way that didn't work and they want to share that way with you because they've been there, done that, and it didn't work out that way, but this way works. If you're seasoned, please feel free to share your methods with others. That's why it's so great to support each other. Each student should have at least 3 pieces of evidence prepared for your parent-teacher conferences. So if you have something that really shows their growth, maybe they came in and they didn't really know how to draw something in particular. Maybe it was a circle or a square. And now here we are, and you've collected data for the past 2 months going into November, and they've progressed so much. If you just take pictures of each thing and you're putting it in their little file on your computer or whatever you're doing, then you're going to show that progress to the parents. Look how much they've grown. They started writing their name here. It was a bunch of squiggly lines. And now look where we are. They formed that letter perfectly because they worked really hard. We did it every morning while we were getting ready for fill in the blank activity, getting ready to go outside. Everybody got their name laminated sheet. They used their dry erase markers and they practiced. And look how much they flourished. Or you're talking about their social emotional skills. They were that kid who threw the tantrums every time they didn't want to do something. But you've documented in your observational notes and your anecdotal data that dwindled down. Now look at them. They're independent. They follow directions and they actually support their peers who need help. So you show that growth, and then the parents can work with you on, okay, now here's where their gaps lie. Let's work on these things here and at home together. And that's why we try to set ourselves apart from other schools and centers, because we do offer parent-teacher conferences and we do observe and assess our students, because we want them to thrive when they get to kindergarten. And it all starts even when they're itty-bitty infants. When they are in that baby room and Miss Bonita and Miss Heather are working with them every day, they're working with them on their skills of growing up. They're teaching them every day. And it's very hard for people not in this field to know that and to wrap their brains around it. So for us to have these conferences with them, the parents are able to see, wow, they really are growing, and this is what they are doing to address their needs in the classroom. If you notice a child is in need of speech, OT, PT, maybe OD therapies because they have EDD or emotional deficit disorder, and you're thinking, well, maybe they need extra support, we have referrals for all of those things. And the therapists come to Sneads Ferry Quality. We're starting to get some therapists coming to Holly Ridge Quality. So if you feel like a child is in need for speech, I've seen and heard some children who we just met recently who may need speech therapy. We have referral forms, and the parents get a free referral. The therapist comes in and observes them, and then they can go from there on their own. But we have opened that door. We've provided that avenue for them so that they are ready for kindergarten, because early intervention, that is key. I used to get second graders who were not even on the radar of therapies, and they could have had so much addressed before they came to me, and fourth graders too. So it's very important. Okay, whiteboards, emergency cards, and classroom rosters, all the things that have children names on them. Whiteboards should always be current and up to date. When you get a child and they come in the morning and you greet them, either you, your co-teacher, the flex teacher, whoever is with you that time, make sure that someone is responsible for writing those names on the board, because you don't want to be 2 children behind and then Pam comes and does your lunch count and it's off. We have a fire drill and you're missing children. Like, all these different things can happen. So making sure that your whiteboard is up to date is very important. If you can't get to your whiteboard because you forgot it inside and you're outside, then holler for someone to come bring it to you, because it's extremely important that it's up to date, especially if, you know, knock on wood, we're down 9 teachers and we need to combine students in classrooms. Then you're putting these kids in your room. We want to make sure you don't go over ratio. We want to make sure that we give you what you need so that you can be in a classroom with somebody else. And those rare times we have to max you out because there's too many sick teachers out there. Let's see. Okay, so on the back of your whiteboards, and most of you know this already, but if you're new, you may not. The whiteboard should have an updated class list. Now, tomorrow, if you realize that the class list is out of date because you've gotten so many new friends, just copy your meal program and cut their names out and tape it to the back of your whiteboard. And that way, whoever's in your room, they know how to spell their first and last names of the students who may need an incident report, who may need a behavior report. Maybe, God forbid, both teachers are out that day, so we don't know any of those kids' names, and I need to be able to address them all and get what I need to get done and know who's who. In those instances, we will probably put masking tape on the back of everyone and put their names on them, because you'll need to know who they are. Refer to the list when writing incident reports. Please make sure their names are spelled correctly. And when you are combining at the end of the day, you might want to bring both whiteboards out, and then you can condense them onto one whiteboard, but making sure that every child's accounted for. And emergency cards. So inside your emergency bags are your emergency cards. Now that you got so many new friends, please make sure you check them tomorrow. Make sure that they're all current. And if you had a child who you know moved up to a particular room, you can just pass that emergency card on to the new teacher. That'll save the front office a lot of extra work. So don't toss them, please. If the child has withdrawn, you can go and shred it in the main office or give it to the main office and they will shred it. And that way the confidential information is kept confidential. If you need an emergency card or several, please write a list and then pop it in either Michelle or Ruby's or Joyce's or my mailbox, because I'll be coming back to Students for Equality for a little bit every week. So you can put in anyone's mailbox and we'll do our best to get them to you as fast as possible. And the best thing about ProCare is you have those emergency cards accessible to yourself at all times, because you can go on ProCare and see your kids' information. No. Meal program, My Simple Menu. For our new staff, this is probably things you don't know. So that's why we're informing you that the meal program, that paper version that has the names, and if you've offered them a meal, those are black pen only. We try to provide everyone with black pens only, but sometimes a little pink pen sneaks in there. So make sure they're all black pen. The forms are signed every Friday. Now, Holly Ridge Quality, you are going to join the meal program soon. So this will apply to you when we implement it, and we can always go back and revisit it. The counts need to be complete and accurate at the bottom. You have to count all those itty bitties that you offered to, all those X's. If you made a mistake, circle the mistake mark and only mark during service. So if we're doing My Simple Menu and we're doing the meal program form. The meal program form is always at point of service. So you're marking those X's at point of service when you're serving. Then your meal, My Simple Menu, can be addressed right afterwards. Everyone who's offered a meal gets marked. If they are a packer, if they say no thanks, they still get an X, because we count them in what we proportion the meals out to and what we spend our moolah on to buy food for everybody. So that way we get reimbursed what is the correct count. So anyone who gets offered a meal, those are the ones you put the X's on. They got offered something, whether they ate it or not. No one, okay, so incident reports and behavior reports. This isn't as much of an issue as it was a little while ago, but I wanted to remind everybody that incident reports and those non-injury behavior reports, they are legal documents, because if somebody were to go to court or maybe there's a custody battle, they will need to bring these things with them. So they have to be in blue or black ink. If you didn't witness it, don't write anything. That's not your job because you weren't there. It is the person who was there or the person who was responsible at the time of the event. And the child is telling them, oh, so-and-so hit me and that's why I got this scratch. If you need to know if it actually happened, that's why we have video. So you can ask us to play back the tape. If it's a serious injury, we definitely want to make sure we watch what occurred if no one witnessed the injury or the event. So even during the IEP process, if a child needs an individual education plan and they want to collect as much data as possible, they might ask for those reports, especially the behavior reports. Those children who might need extra intervention because they are extremely defiant or ADHD, ADD, to get them what they need, we're collecting all this data and this observational data for families, and those sheets are exactly what they're going to use. Some of you might jump to using ABC charts because they're quick and not as detailed as the behavior reports, but still they are legal documents, so blue or black ink. Okay, very excited. Back to school night. This is only for Sneads for Equality. So back to school night is a night where the families come on September 16th from 6:30 to 7:30. All staff who are teachers and co-teachers are asked to stay or come back for that, and then they'll be paid for that hour of work. If you are a flex teacher, you are welcome to come and work. We have some different things that you'd be assigned to do in that hour, and you'd be able to support your fellow teachers in the school, as well as greeting families or doing different things throughout. It's only an hour. It's a chance for the parents and families to come in and see what's happened so far in their child's classroom, where they've come from, and now what are they doing. It's not a time for conferences. They will sign up for conferences for November, so please remind them, if you want to talk to me, I'd be happy to, but we only have an hour and I want to make sure I get to all the families. So there's a way to let them down gently and then find some time for them. If they need a conference and they're not going to wait till November, which some people have things that they'd like to discuss sooner, they can sign up. We'll have a little sign up outside of every classroom. If they feel like they need to talk to you about something, we can set time aside where they sit with you, or we can do a phone conference. And those things can be handled outside of back to school night. Let's see. Yeah, display all their work. And now with Eckers and ITERS happening, ITERS was today and they did a fantastic job from what I hear. Your work is already up on the walls. So just keep adding beautiful work and proud moments of the students. Take pictures of them, send them to me through Messenger, and I will print at CVS. And that way you can post those pretty pictures of great activities around your room. Very important to like show off those kids and what they're doing. So the next CPR training is going to be by me, unless Miss Ruby would like to teach it, but I want to make sure that our Holly Ridge teachers as well get trained if they are not certified just yet, or maybe they had expired. It is free of charge to be trained by Miss Ruby or myself. All you have to do is show up, and it's only 2 hours where other CPR classes are 3 to 4 hours. And it's right after work on Wednesday, September 14th. It'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. And I'm going to do it at the Sneads for Equality main building, probably room 5, and bring your own dinner. So make sure that, or you can wait till 8 o'clock, but some of us would pass out. So if you want to bring your own dinner, and then we'll get through it and you'll be certified. It's first aid, CPR, AED, bloodborne pathogens. So it's all in one, and infants, like we just tackle it all. If you are a no-show, it's not pretty because you get charged out of your next paycheck. So if you can't come, tell us ahead of time. And if you are going to go take CPR somewhere else because you would like to take it in a different location, we reimburse $25 worth. So some courses are $75, we reimburse the $25, and that means you're out $50. Questions or comments? Remember, always remember, if we don't know there's a problem that exists, we can't help to solve it. So if you're keeping things bottled up inside, my next point is don't let it fester. Don't let it grow and fester and then bother you. And then all of a sudden you have a breaking point and you explode and you're out, because everyone's got that point. But if you don't communicate what you need and what you're going through, then we can't help you professionally. If you have personal things and you want some support, we're also here for that. And open door policy means open door policy. If you need to talk to someone, that's what we're here for. If you just want to message me at night, I'll reply back. I'm usually back up again at 2:30 in the morning and then like 4:30 in the morning. So if you're going through something and you need some support, that's what we're here for. Because if you're not in the right state of mind, then you're going to bring it into the classroom and you're just going to have some kind of crazy off days, and your kids will feel it and your co-teachers will feel it. And it just doesn't set a good environment and comfortable feeling. You want to be comfortable and safe in your work environment. So if you're not comfortable with me, go find someone else in admin if you want to talk to them. I'm not offended, because everyone's got their person. So if you find someone you're comfortable speaking with and you want support in addressing an issue, that's what we're here for. Okay. Let's see. Any questions or comments? Okay. Well, we're done 8 minutes early, and I think I went through everything. I do ask that you take some time and watch those videos I didn't show you, and really put those tools in your tool belt, because the beginning of the year will test your patience. You are training little people on what you expect in your classroom. And if you have the time and you have the patience and you are consistent, you're going to notice a month from now how different they are, how positive of a change you've made. So I just want to thank everybody, because some of you are in brand new positions. Some of you are brand new to us. And it definitely takes a village to support every single classroom. And we tackled ITERs today. Thank you, Room 10, for doing so fabulously. And we have 2 ECHRs. Those. So if you feel like, oh man, I really got to do this for my room. If I get picked for ECHRs, I want to tackle this, and you need help, just message me. If you need labels, Ms. Ruby's got some awesome labels. We'll print them off. And I brought 2 laminators to school today. So now I think there's 3 laminators that needs great quality. You can just go laminating madness. And what else? And thank you. Oh, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening and see you tomorrow. Bye.